Thank you. And let me say that it's really a pleasure for me to welcome you here today in a special city on a special day. As you might know, October the 16th is the World Food Day, the day the international community has chosen to commit itself to end hunger and guarantee access to food, good food, to all in our world. So let me join this morning our own effort, our own strong commitment to the one that in these very same hours is expressed in the entire world, and in particularly in Italy, in Rome, with FAO and the other UN agencies that with their everyday work make the dream of ending hunger and malnutrition possible. I find it highly symbolical that we celebrate this special important day here in Milan, the city that will host from next May the universal exhibition dedicated to the theme Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life. And I believe it is highly symbolical that we recall this gathering here together, Europe and Asia, business and institutions, as we all know very well that nutrition is a key issue, not only for politics, not only for societies, but also for economy, and that we need to build strong, deep and wide alliances if we want to feed the planet. Feeding the planet is not only a slogan. Access to food and water is a fundamental human right. These are the words that open and close the Women for Expo Charter that I'm happy that I can announce here today will be signed during Expo, and is the result of a great work that Women for Expo have done in the last months and are going to do over 2015. As we know, women are a key player and have a huge potential to end hunger and malnutrition. It was impossible to me to start this welcoming not mentioning this challenge we have, access to food and water, but it is very clear that it is just one of the urgent and dramatic challenges that we have to face together in these difficult times. In Europe, over the last years, we have had constantly to deal with the urgent. Friends from Brussels know that better than we do. The financial and economic crisis led us to focus on our internal challenges. In our external action, we have been absorbed by the arch of instability surrounding us. As we speak, our neighborhood is literally in flames. Think of Ukraine, think of Syria, Iraq, and Libya. But this does not mean that we forget the important. We are fully conscious that one of the mega trends in our world is the rise of Asia, not just China, all the continent, and its global ramifications. We all know the statistics of growth, investment, research, and I know that you've been working already this morning and yesterday on this. All these are rising faster in Asia than in any other continent, and certainly than in Europe. We know how much Asia matters. We also know that a more competitive international environment coexists with deepening economic interdependence between all nations and societies and between regions. The growth of international trade in goods, services and essential commodities drive to a large extent global growth. Both Europe and Asia rely on these flows for their growth and prosperity. Let me say that in particular, we Europeans see in Asia a critical anchor to our economic recovery. We have great ambitions for concluding ongoing free trade agreement negotiations with many of your countries and complement this with investment agreements. We know the importance of Asia and we are more than ready to build on our existing relationship. But I also strongly believe that not only Asia matters to Europe, Europe matters to Asia. The EU-China relationship is the biggest trading relationship in the world. Access to the EU, 500 million customers, remains the prime goal of millions of Asian-based economic operators. And the EU is by far the biggest investor in ASEAN. And its investment in high quality, providing training of local workforces and improving environmental standards. Europe, I believe, does not only matter to Asia in economic terms, as well as Asia does not matter to Europe only in economic terms. Perhaps more than any other global player, the European Union can share its experience in integration on a continental scale. We have found a path to translate a political vision into practical measures that allow our citizens and businesses to live the benefits of regional integration. Because of the EU's own history, an active European presence in Asia, but more than this, an active partnership with Asia, with the EU record of integration, our predisposition for cooperative security, our agenda of balancing open markets, social cohesion and environmental sustainability, can represent, and I'm sure will represent, an important value for both of us, Asia and Europe. Despite the many challenges we face at home and in our neighbourhood, the economic field and security field, all around us, I am convinced that the urgent cannot obscure the important. On the contrary, the many difficult challenges we are called to face make it urgent to work together on what is important. And on the list of what is important for Europe, and I believe for Asia too, the EU-Asia relationship shines. I believe that a closer cooperation and partnership between our two regions has a tremendous potential. We both need to develop this potential. It is our common interest to realise this potential at its full in the years ahead. I thank you for being here in these days. I thank you for the work you've done in this morning and yesterday, and I wish that our cooperation can really be the best possible in the coming months and years. I thank you very much.
We thank you, Ms. Mogherini. Thank you very much, and we look forward to welcoming you in Brussels in your new job. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to now turn to my friend, Mr. Georgios Quincy, President of Confindustria, to say a few words, please.
Prime Minister Renzi, President Van Rompuy, President Barroso, Prime Minister Abe, Prime Minister Razak, Prime Minister Tandung, Minister Mogherini, dear Diana and dear Emma, honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday in Assolombarda, the Euro-Asian business community met to discuss the major issues of the global economic agenda, and Europe and Asia are fundamental in this context. There is virtually no economic, trade or investment dynamic that does not involve our regions. It can be financing, technology, human skills or raw material, intermediary goods or services, but Europe and Asia always stand prominent in the global supply chain. And many times they are central actors in this framework. The relevance of Asia is of global significance under all points of view. As an entrepreneur and as a representative of a national business federation, I am deeply aware that reinforcing the relations with this region is one of the major challenges facing Europe. Maybe one day Asia will find its way to a closer integration. Many regional agreements have been concluded and many others under negotiation. The European business looked at this process with the greatest interest and is ready to contribute to reach effective solutions. The European Union is deepening strategic partnership with a number of Asian countries. Regular and wide-ranging dialogues take place, leading to cooperation and convergence on global issues, regional security questions, as well as economic, regulatory, policy and many other economic issues. Such dialogues are mutually fruitful and very important both at the regional and global level. The benefits are not only for business, but for our societies and for the world population as a whole. We are conscious of it, and our action as business representatives is driven by the deep belief that we can contribute to make these relations more solid and sustainable. We are committed to a world characterized by a balanced development where everybody should benefit from globalization, where everyone can receive the dividends of economic growth and have a job, a house, a family, access to public goods, health, care and security. Europe undertook this path a long time ago, after the Second World War. Our founding fathers promised each other to join forces to achieve peace, stability and welfare. Since then, we have experienced many crises and turmoils, but discouragement never prevailed and Europe has maintained its commitments. It has increased its members and its responsibilities toward national governments and towards citizens as well. The current economic situation is one of the harshest ever. The long-standing effect of the crisis are still with us, but we are proud of all the efforts made so far, of the results achieved when the worst scenarios were confronting us, and we look ahead to new European institutions with trust, but also with a strong sense of duty. This is the strength of the business community. We have trust. We feel responsible. Together with the Business Europe and with our Asian partners, we have joined our strengths to confirm that we are ready to carry out our part of the job. Today, more than ever, stronger than ever. As an Italian, I am particularly happy to host the meeting in Milano, my town, where my business started, and I am honored that our gathering today is the occasion to know more about the challenging and exciting adventure that will start soon with Expo 2015. But most of all, my deepest appreciation and attention go to the results achieved by the Asia-Europe Business Summit. Since the beginning, we had agreed that there won't be a long and generic list of recommendations. We decided that the ASEM Summit had to provide sharp, concise and targeted indication. I think we have achieved our mission. Emma will present and convey our final declaration at the end of this session. On my side, I want to warmly thank the 4 task forces that have worked for many months on these papers and the co-chairmen that yesterday presented their conclusion. Authorities, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that the 14th edition of the AEBF will be remembered not only as a milestone in the ASEM process, but also as the start of a concrete follow-up with the objective to provide the role of Euro-Asian business with greater continuity, stability and effectiveness. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Squinzi. It's now my pleasure to ask Dato' Najib Razak, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, to say a few words. Please come to the podium, sir.
Excellencies, Prime Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here today to participate in this forum. This is because I believe that while governments make economic policy, it is business that drives the economy. They are the true engine of growth, and they can make things happen. I would like to thank the organizers of the Asia-Europe Business Forum for inviting me. Strengthening economic cooperation between the business sectors of Asia and Europe is important. Both our continents provide vast opportunities for trade, investment and growth. Although economic connectivity between Asia and Europe is strong, it is my belief that more can be done to enhance links, and that is why I believe that this forum is so important. Ladies and gentlemen, Asia is very different today. And what a different continent it is, indeed, than when ASEM held its first summit 18 years ago. Many people say, and it's almost a cliche, to say the 21st century will be Asia's century. China is on the verge of overtaking the United States as the world's biggest economy, according to purchasing power parity. Asia's global or share of global output has grown exponentially and now stands at more than 40%. And with over 600 million people, more than the EU, and a combined GDP set to reach 4 trillion by 2020, ASEAN will play an increasingly significant role in the global economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia is a strong proponent of free trade. We are actively pursuing free trade agreements with a number of countries, including European Free Trade Association countries, and negotiations on a free trade agreement between Malaysia and the EU should proceed. Malaysia continues to be actively involved in negotiating the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, which we believe can boost trade, create new jobs and wealth. Malaysia will assume the chair of ASEAN in 2015, and I am hopeful that under our chairmanship, ASEAN will realize the ASEAN Economic Community, which will transform the region by creating a single market and production base. ASEAN is also leading the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which includes the member of states of ASEAN, plus Australia, China, India, Japan, Korea, and New Zealand. The initiative involves a combined population of 3.3 billion with a total GDP of $21.4 trillion. That's almost half the global population and 29% of global GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, economic growth generates additional investment opportunities. More Asian companies are now looking to invest in Europe, while regional economic integration in Asia furnishes new and exciting opportunities for European businesses. European firms remain vital to Asia's and Asian growth and development. For example, EU companies have invested more than $17 billion in Malaysia. Both our regions require sustainable economic growth and development, and of course, financial stability. An economic partnership that expand trade and investment are crucial to achieving this. We must continue to find new ways to encourage our businesses to tap into the opportunities of our respective regions, thereby deepening economic integration, fostering mutual beneficial growth. Malaysia continues to champion the principles of good governance, transparency, and regulatory reforms at home and within ASEAN. Foreign investors can rest assured that with more liberalization and facilitation measures will be implemented to transform ASEAN into an even more attractive place to do business. More liberalization, though, will require capacity building and socio-economic development. To this end, the EU has provided assistance for various capacity building initiatives, including sharing of best practices and enhancing skills development in the region. We thank the EU and look forward to further strengthening cooperation between EU and ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, sustained economic growth and job creation, both regionally and globally, requires that Asia and Europe work closer together. I trust that this forum will go some way to doing just that. I believe that by working together, we can prosper in unison. I thank you.
Thank you indeed, Prime Minister. Thank you for your insights. May I now ask Mr. Herman Van Rompuy to please take the floor and give us his views on ASEM. Thank you, sir.
Excellencies, Prime Ministers,
Ministers, Mr. President of the European Commission, distinguished business leaders and representatives, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to be in the wonderful city of Milan today to address the business communities of Asia and Europe shortly before the launch of the 10th ASEM Summit. I wish therefore to start by thanking wholeheartedly Prime Minister Matteo Renzi and his government for their generous hospitality. This afternoon I will have the pleasure of welcoming the representative of the Business Forum to the summit itself. They will be invited to present your agreed recommendations to the leaders of the 53 ASEM members. I thank you in advance for this valuable contribution. Indeed, we are convening under the theme Responsible Partnership for Sustainable Growth and Security. And your input of our discussions is therefore most valuable. The voice of the business community is a voice that matters. The main message to you is that today, more than ever, European and Asian nations need each other to achieve growth and development and to guarantee security and preserve stability. The times of zero-sum games, approaches, or those of dominant positions are long gone. We will only advance and benefit if we do it together, if we cooperate. And this is what gives this summit its title. This will be the essence of our discussions and our conclusions. Europe needs Asia. A strong Asian economy is a driver of world growth. Many of its economies continue developing at impressive rates, and the coming of age of successive waves of Asian countries has kept the high rhythm of economic growth in Asia for decades. And at the same time, Asia needs Europe. Its technological innovation and know-how, the biggest and richest market in the world, the largest investor in Asia. And leaders today will recommit to an open world economy, to strengthening trade and investment relations, to resist protectionist temptations. The European Union's engagement with the region in trade and investment matters has never been as strong as now. It has concluded free trade agreements with the Republic of Korea and Singapore. Negotiations are ongoing with India, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand and Japan. An investment treaty is being negotiated with China. Other projects are in the pipeline. The role of small and medium-sized enterprises will be particularly highlighted. In Europe, SMEs are considered an essential part of the economic recovery and creation of jobs. They are also a source of technological innovation, including in the extremely relevant field of environmental protection. Important initiatives to promote eco-innovation among SMEs are being taken in the ASEM context. When addressing you, responsible business leaders, I cannot omit underlining that a healthy business climate is based on the respect of the rights of the workers and the promotion of their well-being. This will benefit overall social development and growth itself. And finally, I want to underline the importance that this summit will give to connectivity as an overarching theme. The European Union supports a broad-based concept of connectivity in its three dimensions: physical, transport, energy and digital; institutional, rules-based governments; and people-to-people, youth, education, research, tourism, civil society and so on. It's about linking Europe and Asia, but also about enhancing intra-regional connectivity. The European Union has a rich experience to share in fostering free movement of people, goods, services and capital, and in developing trans-European networks. It supports Europe-Asia connectivity through a web of actions and projects across policy areas, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, the European-Asia relationship
is a very, very strong relationship. And the times are full of challenges, also on the field of security. Nations have to stand together and combat terrorism such as the one is affecting Iraq and Syria. They have to put an end to violence and that tears nations apart. But there is no alternative to dialogue and cooperation. And I am confident that European and Asian states, joined together, can make an important contribution to this effort. Stability and peace is key for the economy. And it's the economy that matters and that links us. Asia needs Europe, and Europe needs Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to now ask the Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Mr. Nguyen Thanh Dong, to please come to the podium.
Thưa các nhà lãnh đạo EU, thưa các vị thủ tướng, thưa bà Chủ tịch Hiệp hội Doanh nghiệp châu Âu, thưa ông Chủ tịch Liên đoàn Công nghiệp Italia, thưa quý vị và các bạn. Tôi rất hân hạnh và vui mừng tham dự Diễn đàn Doanh nghiệp Á-Âu lần thứ 14 cùng các quý vị và các bạn, những người luôn tiên phong trong phát triển tình hữu nghị và gắn kết giữa hai châu lục Á-Âu. Liên đoàn Công nghiệp, tôi đặc biệt đánh giá cao nỗ lực của Hiệp hội Doanh nghiệp châu Âu và Liên đoàn Công nghiệp Italia tổ chức sự kiện rất có ý nghĩa lần này. Với chủ đề và những nội dung thiết thực, diễn đàn một lần nữa khẳng định tính năng động và vai trò không thể thiếu của cộng đồng doanh nghiệp trong việc tăng cường liên kết kinh tế Á-Âu. Trong gần 2 thập kỷ qua, chúng ta chứng kiến những chuyển dịch mạnh mẽ của nền tảng kinh tế thế giới, cũng như tương quan lực lượng quốc tế theo hướng đa trung tâm, đa tầng nấc. Đây cũng là quá trình ASEAN hình thành, phát triển và khẳng định vai trò trong hình thành các mối quan hệ đối tác sâu rộng, các thỏa thuận thương mại tự do giữa hai châu lục, thúc đẩy xu thế hợp tác trên toàn cầu. Trong thế giới ngày nay, trong thế giới ngày càng gắn kết và môi trường an ninh phát triển, chuyển biến khôn lường, yêu cầu cấp bách là chúng ta cần làm sống động và nâng tầm hợp tác liên kết kinh tế, cũng như khẳng định vị thế của ASEAN trong thế kỷ 21. Do đó, trước hết, tôi đặc biệt hoan nghênh và đánh giá cao những đề xuất thiết thực của Diễn đàn Doanh nghiệp Á-Âu lần này, nhằm thúc đẩy thương mại và đầu tư giữa hai châu lục. Tôi đề nghị các bạn tiếp tục đồng hành trong triển khai mạnh mẽ kế hoạch hành động thuận lợi hóa thương mại và kế hoạch hành động xúc tiến đầu tư của ASEAN. Đây là nền tảng quan trọng để chúng ta tận dụng các cơ hội mới khi châu Á đang dẫn đầu tăng trưởng kinh tế toàn cầu và châu Âu là một trung tâm công nghệ, sáng tạo và thị trường đầy tiềm năng. Thứ hai, với tiềm lực và sức sáng tạo, các bạn hãy hỗ trợ các thành viên đang phát triển của ASEAN trong ứng phó với các thách thức an ninh phi truyền thống, nhất là bảo đảm an ninh lương thực, nguồn nước, năng lượng, quản lý bền vững, tài nguyên thiên nhiên, ứng phó thiên tai. thông qua các chương trình đối tác công tư, các bạn hãy góp phần đổi mới và chuyển giao công nghệ, ứng dụng công nghệ xanh, sạch, đồng thời xây dựng thói quen tiêu dùng, phương thức sản xuất thân thiện với môi trường. Sự tham gia của các doanh nghiệp trong việc giải quyết các thách thức này vừa là đầu tư vào tương lai bền vững của chính mình, vừa thể hiện trách nhiệm xã hội của tất cả các bạn. Thứ ba, tôi đặc biệt trông đợi các doanh nghiệp tham gia tăng cường kết nối Á Âu, các chương trình kết nối tiểu vùng và kết nối khu vực của ASEAN trên cả phương diện cơ sở hạ tầng, thể chế và con người. Các cơ chế liên kết kinh tế hiện có ở châu Á tiếp tục được củng cố và đi vào chiều sâu, đồng thời đang hình thành nhiều tầng nấc mới với nội hàm liên kết sâu rộng và mức độ cam kết cao. Việc hình thành cộng đồng ASEAN năm 2015 mở ra thời kỳ phát triển hoàn toàn mới và năng động với một thị trường chung, không gian kinh tế thống nhất cho Đông Nam Á. Đến năm 2020, ASEAN sẽ trở thành một tâm điểm trong mạng lưới kinh tế thương mại và liên kết châu Á-Thái Bình Dương, với việc hoàn tất các cam kết của các hiệp định thương mại tự do ASEAN với các đối tác, triển vọng hình thành khuôn khổ đối tác kinh tế toàn diện khu vực, hiệp định đối tác xuyên Thái Bình Dương, đàm phán hiệp định thương mại tự do ASEAN-EU được dự kiến khởi động lại sau năm 2015. Các liên kết đó đang tạo nên những xung lực cho thuận lợi hóa, tự do hóa thương mại và đầu tư, thúc đẩy tăng trưởng của từng quốc gia và của cả khu vực. Do đó, các bạn hãy nắm bắt thời cơ để cùng chúng tôi triển khai các dự án kết nối ở châu Á, đặc biệt là kế hoạch tổng thể kết nối ASEAN, các dự án kết nối của ASEAN lục địa và tiểu vùng Mekong. Thưa quý vị và các bạn, Việt Nam chúng tôi đang tiếp tục đổi mới sâu sắc, triển khai mạnh mẽ, tái cơ cấu kinh tế gắn với chuyển đổi mô hình tăng trưởng. Với hội nhập quốc tế sâu rộng và toàn diện trên mọi tầng nấc, Việt Nam không chỉ trở thành một hạt nhân tích cực ở Đông Nam Á, mà còn là cầu nối gắn kết các nền kinh tế ASEAN lục địa với ASEAN hải đảo. Hầu hết các đối tác chiến lược và đối tác toàn diện của Việt Nam là các thành viên của ASEAN. Với triển vọng triển khai và hoàn tất 14 hiệp định thương mại tự do trong giai đoạn đến năm 2020, trong đó có hiệp định thương mại tự do xuyên Thái Bình Dương. Việt Nam sẽ trở thành một mắt xích quan trọng của mạng lưới liên kết kinh tế rộng lớn với 56 đối tác, trong đó có 47 nước là thành viên ASEAN. Tôi vui mừng thông báo với các bạn, trong chuyến thăm Liên minh châu Âu của tôi cách đây 3 ngày, Việt Nam và Liên minh châu Âu đã nhất trí định hướng kết thúc đàm phán hiệp định thương mại tự do song phương, với hy vọng rằng hiệp định này sẽ được ký kết chính thức vào đầu năm 2015. Đây là những nền tảng căn bản để Việt Nam nâng tầm đóng góp vào liên kết Á-Âu và tham gia sâu hơn vào chuỗi giá trị toàn cầu, tạo ra những cơ hội mới, to lớn cho các doanh nghiệp hai châu lục đầu tư và kinh doanh ở Việt Nam. Việt Nam sẽ tiếp tục coi trọng và cam kết tạo mọi điều kiện thuận lợi cho các doanh nghiệp và các nhà đầu tư hoạt động thành công ở Việt Nam. Xin trân trọng cảm ơn tất cả các quý vị và các bạn.
Thank you very much indeed, Prime Minister. May I now ask Mr. José Manuel Barroso, President of the European Commission, to take the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. First of all, let me congratulate very warmly Business Europe, Coffee Industria, and the Organization of Lombard Economy Business for this initiative that the European Commission has strongly supported. Europe-Asia, this is a relationship that is already one of the driving forces of the world economy. It drives forward further cooperation also in the political sense. We strongly believe in that. And it is therefore a relationship of truly global significance. Such a partnership cannot be strengthened by political leaders alone. It's not just a matter for politicians or diplomats. It involves a strong commitment of our societies, and namely of the business communities. And I thank you. I thank the business community of Europe and the business community of Asia for the support they are giving to this increased partnership between Europe and Asia. The continuing rise of Asia is one of the trends shaping our world today. Asia is home to some of the world's fastest growing economies, with millions of people already lifted out of poverty. It is experiencing a rapid change in its politics and its international role, and its influence has grown accordingly. Asia growth is also shaping Europe's future. Asia has become our main trading partner, if you consider its regional level, representing 36.6% of our total extra-regional trade in goods. The European Union is also, by far, the largest investor in Asia. Asian countries are also major investors in Europe, and the investment of Asia is growing in our continent. In turn, Europe continues also to shape the future and development of Asia. The European Union remains the largest economy in the world, with a per capita GDP of average 25,000 euros for its 500 million consumers, so it is the place where Asian companies want to do business. And they are right. Of course, such a beneficial bond is a complement, not an alternative, to internal economic growth. We can only make the most of this relationship if each takes its own fate in hand. Europe has done precisely that in tackling the economic and sovereign debt crisis. It was the biggest crisis we had in Europe since the beginning of European integration in the 50s of last century. We have fought hard to regain stability in recent years. We can say now that we have left the existential part of the crisis behind, that we have recovered stability. And now we are embarked on a path to economic recovery thanks to a determined reform agenda both at European level and national level. Namely, to our friends from Asia, I want to say, don't underestimate this. You can be sure about Europeans' resilience and Europeans' determination. We are coming out of the crisis stronger, and in fact we will show our commitment to this agenda of reform. However, we all know, and we are honest about it, the recovery remains fragile, and the growth momentum in Europe needs to be sustained and reinvigorated. Against this background, Europe is perfectly aware of its responsibility towards its citizens and also towards the global economy to strengthen the economic recovery. We know very well that the reform effort needs to continue in order to get back to full economic health. For that reason, we are pursuing a differentiated and growth-friendly fiscal policy, and most importantly, ambitious structural reforms, because they are necessary to improve medium-term growth prospects and to create jobs. And last but not least, we are now considering further impulses in our investment. As we have said, it's very critical for growth, sustainable growth, to have targeted investment. So in short, we have repaired our institutional setup, we have regained stability, financial stability, and we will pursue our economic reforms until we return to higher levels of growth sustainable growth. And by doing business in Europe, Asia also can tackle some of its own challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be frank. There are some indications of a possible slowdown in global growth, not only in Europe, in other parts of the world. And we have to be honest about this. I believe that we need supply-side measures for some, domestic demand stimulus for others, and structural reforms for all. And this is a collective effort that we have to pursue. Asian economies have avoided the worst effects of the global financial crisis. Asian economies can raise domestic demand thanks to rapidly expanding consumer markets and large infrastructure projects. There are issues that still need to be addressed, including a more balanced economy that takes into account long-term sustainability and environmental concerns. Asian policymakers have started to address these issues. I am confident that further reform will take place in the years to come. And as I look ahead, I am convinced that our deeper ties will bring further prosperity, more jobs, and economic stability. Integrating with Asian supply chains and tapping into Asia's own economic integration is key to enhance Europe's competitiveness and create growth and jobs, including in our very important SME sector, that is the pillar of our industrial sector. For instance, here, we are in Italy, one of the greatest countries of Europe, and thanks to Prime Minister Renzi can enjoy its great responsibility, but it's precisely one country like many others. We can see how important it is, our tissue of small and medium-sized companies. For this reason, the European Commission has worked tirelessly to agree a series of bilateral and regional free trade agreements. Our first new generation FTA was signed with South Korea in 2011. With Singapore, we concluded the first FTA with an ASEAN partner. And we are now in an advanced stage with Vietnam. This week, I received Prime Minister Tsung in Brussels to give a further push so that we can conclude this as quickly as possible. We also have negotiations underway with Thailand and in Malaysia, and we have heard with great interest Prime Minister Razak, and I know about his strong commitment to opening markets and to a business-friendly environment. Our final goal remains a truly bi-regional European Union-ASEAN agreement. We also launched negotiations for an FTA with Japan, and we are working with Prime Minister Abe to give this relationship a new dynamism, working hard to get a comprehensive agreement in place. With China, we have launched talks for an ambitious investment agreement, covering both market access and investment protection. Just yesterday evening, President Van Rompuy and myself, in a meeting with Prime Minister Lee, we have agreed to give a further push to this investment agreement that can also open new possibilities in the future. So I could go on and on, but what is important is that to have in mind that this reflects our sincere desire to increase our interconnections, political, institutional, legal, cultural ties. We should also increase our physical connectivity by expanding our transport links, energy routes, digital networks, such as the Trans-Eurasia Information Network that helps to bridge the digital divide and shared knowledge amongst partner countries, a project the European Commission has sponsored. We have much to learn from each other through increased cooperation between our education systems, joint science and innovation projects, and further mobility. And we are ready to step up our game also financially. Just to give an example, European Union ASEAN cooperation 2014-2020 will actually more than double as compared to the previous period. So we are dedicating just for that specific operation 170 million euros from the European budget. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, and now that I'm coming at the end of 2 mandates at the European Commission, I can testify the great progress we have made in these 10 years. If you look at where we were 10 years ago and where we are now, in terms of trade and investment relations between Europe and Asia, it's really spectacular. It's really a very important contribution, not only for prosperity in our continents, but also for the global economy. So I'm sure that with the strong support of business communities on both sides, we can build even a better future. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President, for that insight. May I ask now the Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Shinzo Abe, please, to take the floor.